Political independence of the central bank is a modern institutional design. It has been lost or significantly compromised 6 documented times in modern economic history. This is what followed each time. Chapter 1. The German Reichsbank. 1933. The Reichsbank had been granted legal independence under the Dawes Plan of 1924, as a condition of Allied support for German currency stabilization. In March 1933, Adolf Hitler appointed Hjalmar Schacht as Reichsbank president. The Reichsbank's independence was formally revoked in January 1939 with the law on the Reichsbank, which placed it under Hitler's direct authority. Between 1933 and 1939, the Reichsbank financed German rearmament through MEFO bills, off-balance sheet instruments that concealed deficit spending. Schacht eventually resigned in January 1939 over the pace of rearmament spending. His successor had no independence to exercise. Chapter 2. The United States Federal Reserve. 1971 to 1979. Presidential pressure from Richard Nixon on Federal Reserve Chairman Arthur Burns to keep rates accommodative ahead of the 1972 election has been documented in White House tape recordings released decades later. Burns subsequently kept the federal funds rate below the rate of inflation for most of the early 1970s, a sustained period of negative real interest rates. The result was inflation that peaked at nearly 15% in 1980. It required the most aggressive monetary tightening in the Fed's post-war history, the Volcker shock, to resolve it. Paul Volcker raised the federal funds rate to 20% by June 1981. Unemployment reached 10.8%. 2 recessions followed. The inflation was resolved. Chapter 3. The Bank of Japan. 1931 to 1936. Finance Minister Takahashi subordinated the Bank of Japan in 1931 to finance Depression-era recovery. The gold standard was abandoned, fiscal expansion funded, and deficit spending monetized. Japan was among the first major economies to recover from the Depression. GDP growth was positive from 1932. The policy was economically effective in the short term. The political consequence of demonstrated subordination was, however, that the military faction used the same mechanism to finance rearmament from 1934. Takahashi attempted to resist in 1936. He was assassinated in the February 26 incident, a coup attempt by radical military officers. Chapter 4. The Hungarian National Bank. 1945 to 1946. Hungary's post-war inflation is the most severe in recorded history, more severe than Weimar Germany. The Hungarian pengo experienced a total inflation of approximately 10 to the power of 29 between July 1945 and July 1946. 10 to the power of 29. The central bank was subordinated to the post-war provisional government, which needed to finance reconstruction, war reparations, and occupation costs simultaneously. Resolution, the forint, issued August 1946 at 400,000 quadrillion pengas to 1 forint. Chapter 5. Argentina. 1946 to present. Argentina has formally subordinated its central bank to political direction multiple times. The Banco Central has had its charter altered 14 times since 1935. The recurring consequence has been currency crises, inflation, and dollar-denominated parallel markets. Argentina has defaulted on its sovereign debt 9 times. Chapter 6. Turkey. 2019 to 2023. 3 central bank governors were removed between 2019 and 2021 after disagreeing with President Erdogan's theory that high interest rates cause inflation. Turkish inflation peaked at 85.5% in October 2022. The lira lost approximately 90% of its value against the dollar between 2018 and 2023. The resolution, a return to conventional monetary policy in June 2023, with rates raised from 8.5% to 40% over 18 months. Historical commentary only. Not a forecast. Not investment advice.